Between school, your friends, and social media, answers are everywhere, but where can you find the truth? Welcome to the Well StudentCast. We're asking for a friend so you don't have to.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Well StudentCast. My name is Ka'eo, and I'm here with my friend Brynn.
What's up, guys? We're back for the last time this year asking questions for a friend, so you don't have to. But yeah, you guys, this is our last Well StudentCast episode of the year 2022.
Dang, I am sad, but also really grateful for all that we've kind of experienced this past year. This was a
big year.
This was a big year for us, and it all started as a little tiny dream, and then we're like, oh, maybe it'll happen, and then it happened.
Yes, this podcast started in 2022, so it's been a sweet year for us. We're super stoked. But yeah, Ka'eo, why did we even start this thing? As we're reflecting, I don't know about you guys, end of the year, I'm always super reflective and just thinking about everything that happened that year.
That's real. Pace slows down. You're like, okay, I have time to actually think about what
we're closing one chapter, starting a new one, all the cheesy phrases. But when we're reflecting, I think about this year and I'm just like, yeah, I guess we should go back to what even started this thing.
Yeah, I think we just we were just realizing that a lot of our students were having a lot of questions that they're like, wait, but how does the Bible even intersect there? Or how does my faith show up here? Mm-hmm. But then they were like, I don't really want to ask that question though.
Hence the asking for a friend.
And so then we were like, how about we just start doing that? And that way we can be very culturally relevant and take biblical principles and be like, hey, this is what God says about that. And then let's see it play out for our friends. And honestly, sometimes the topics are topics we wish we had more time to talk about.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But that's the cool thing is that we feel like this podcast is here just to start a conversation that gets to continue to be processed over time with community, mentors, and ultimately with the Lord.
Yeah. And I think we've noticed over this past year is that a lot of you have questions about relationships, and more relationships. So we're like, all right, great. This helps us filter for the next year about, hey, how do we make sure that we can continually equip our students or the people who are listening to ask better questions or to even process where they're at with the Lord as far as their relationships with the Lord himself, themselves, or other people.
Yeah, and quick invitation for you guys. If there are questions that you want to ask for your friend.
Come on now.
For us to ask for that friend, for you, for your friend.
We all know it's you.
Please send them in. Send them on Instagram at Well Church Students. Email us, Brynn or Ka'eo at thewellcommunity.org. And we'd love to get those questions on here.
Absolutely. Plus, we may have we don't know what we don't know.
We don't know what we don't know. That's good. That'll preach right there. That's really good advice, honestly, for people to know. And it made me think about, what has been the best piece of advice that you have gotten this year?
What's really funny, Brynn, is I'm kind of exposing myself. I actually have a list of best advice given.
He's pulling it up right now on his phone. Stop it right now.
And I
need a list like this.
Honestly, it's good to return back to because it's wow, what have I forgotten?
Wow.
You know?
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Sometimes you need encouragement, and so this is really pretty sweet. And so I think the best advice that I've been really clinging on all year is this one. It says, whenever you enter a conversation with someone, you should leave them better than when you found them. And that's just the whole idea that look, our words are powerful. And if our job is to essentially be in our an incarnation of Christ, we are an ambassador of Christ, when people experience us, it's almost as if they should be experiencing Christ. And so therefore, we should be encouraging and we should be fortifying their souls and empowering them to be all that Christ has called them to be, and not necessarily pulling them down so that we can feel better. And so it kind of gives me more purpose when I have conversations with people.
That's good.
What about you, Brynn?
That's good. Yeah, when I was thinking about this, I would say the verse that came to my mind was 2 Corinthians 12:9. It says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me.
That's a good one.
So good. And it made me think of just over this past year, I feel like a piece of advice that's kind of been steadily given to me as I've navigated this idea of perfection and my own feeling of pressure that I need to have it all together. Is this idea that God's not asking for me to be perfect, just for me to be in process and to seek health in him. And our weakness is something that can actually be something that connects us and brings other people closer to God, because we see his work and his power through other people's weaknesses. And so that's been key for me this year to kind of embrace those meeknesses and embrace what that means for my relationship with the Lord and that I am in need of him, instead of this idea that I'm my own savior, my own God. And so that's been huge for me this year.
Dang, I think that's huge for all of us. That's good. Thank you for that reminder. That's really powerful. Just like being able to be like, okay, yeah, like here's some advice that was given, and like let's bring it back every now and then to like our, like even if it's a new circumstance, like how do we apply some of that stuff going on?
Well, and some of you guys might be listening. Maybe this recap is your first your first episode that you're listening to. Welcome. We're glad you're here. And you're like, I actually don't know you people. But we were talking about today, like, man, what has stuck out over this past year? And we actually wanted to see what stuck out to you guys as the listeners. And it seems like the best advice that's been given this year.
Yeah, came from like 3 of our episodes.
Yeah. And so we wanted to give a chance just to take a look back and remember what we've learned over the past year with 3 clips from some episodes that were our top played this year. What are relationship red flags?
That was a funny one, Brynn.
That's a good one.
Talks about roller coasters. It was a good time.
It was so good.
We exposed me, I think, in that one.
Me as well, a lot. And then how do I forgive someone who hurt me?
Dang, Brandy brought some good truth on that one.
A lot.
Like, very convicting for myself.
Yes, yeah. And then how do I find my ride or die?
Oh, that was good.
We talked a lot about pickleball.
We did. Sponsor us.
Absolutely. But we're going to take a second just to look back at some clips and some advice from those 3 top played episodes this year.
Here's how you can tell a 6 flag in this. Something that's to go. Just while you can spend a lot of time together, they look forward to sharing your day with, but they're also plugged into community.
Totally. They haven't withdrawn and like isolated themselves from like their boys or their girls to be with you all the time. But also I think they're for you having that community. Yeah. They're celebrating you hanging out with your people, having your mentors, having those honest conversations, and not being with them all the time.
Yeah, they don't make you feel guilty. It's almost like they trust you.
Whoa.
What a word.
What a concept.
Yeah.
Giving it to God the first time was like, God, this isn't helping. Like, I'm just telling you what you already know. But then like going back and like continuing to tell him like, God, I'm still hurt by this. And God, I still need forgiveness for feeling this way and for like not letting go and like not telling this person that I feel this way. Like it felt so freeing to see it all be released and like just seeing like what God has done to like make us like have a better relationship was super nice because I saw him like work through me in a short amount of time. And like, it's so much easier to communicate with him now because I see what he's done and I see that like his power is far greater than like my hurt and like what I was feeling before because like I see like him fixing what I thought could never be fixed because like it was so hurting.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Yeah, he just kind of made, beauty from ashes in that moment. Yeah, totally. That's really cool.
And like the world would tell us like hatred is so powerful. Like hating that person is what they deserve and that's how you're going to like get back at them. But I think what we're seeing and like what we're kind of saying we've experienced is hatred against someone is powerful, but forgiveness is so much more powerful because now we aren't carrying it.
Yeah, when Jesus was even like doing his ministry, he said, hey, you heard that like, if someone like, hits you across the street, strike them back, right? Eye for an eye. And he goes, but I tell you now, like if someone, strikes you across the street, show them the other. The whole point of like, look, like that's just not how we do things anymore. It's not healthy, Yeah. If we always went after our friends who are always hurting us, I don't even think we would be friends anymore. We just all be enemies.
Yeah.
And so I asked the question, I said, hey, what are those barriers that kind of get in the way of like investing in friendships or even make it difficult to start those? And literally 50 people swiped up in my DMs.
Stop.
50. It's the most I've ever had.
Oh my goodness.
I was kind of like, what is happening?
Wow.
And all of them said just some kind of lines of, I'm afraid of rejection. I'm afraid that they're going to abandon me once they know me. I'm afraid of being hurt, like from past friendships.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of feeling like that my needs are too much.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. That's a lot. That's a lot to have to process to try get to be friends,
Yeah. And I mean, I think like that's all so real. Like I want to affirm or like just like let you know that we see you. Yeah. And like as someone who struggles with this a lot, it's such a real fear. And I'm sorry that people have hurt you to make you feel like this isn't possible. This design for community isn't possible. But I think my encouragement for you in that is like, don't let imperfect people affect the way you view like our perfect God's design for our community.
Yeah.
And so how do you like combat, Ka'eo, these fears that are real when you're going into a friendship?
Yeah, I think I have to just talk from my own experience. We here at the Well kind of talk about, hey, like draw a circle around yourself. And so I'm not going to say that this might work for you or this is like, your 5 easy steps for you.
Yeah.
But for me, I have to choose Jesus first. I found that the reason why some of these fears come up is because I'm actually trying to put my friends where God should be first.
That'll preach.
And then I'm trying to gain all that love and affection and identity from them, and not recognizing that we actually should be getting all that from the Lord.
Yeah.
And then an overflow should be our friendships.
Yeah, because in reality, if those people are in the spot that the Lord should be, you're actually not loving them well.
Yeah.
You're putting them in a
that's deep.
spot where the only thing they can do
is fail, right?
and disappoint you.
So yeah, those were great, and those were a really good thing. I just a good time just to look back and listen. Also, like, does my voice really sound like that? Like,
I know.
what in the world?
It's so weird hearing yourself.
A little cringy.
Also, I feel like as we look back, we're like, oh yeah, like those are things that the Lord's still teaching me. And it's just sweet to be like, also look how far we've come.
Yeah.
So that's just sweet to see.
Yes,
and I feel like we would challenge you guys to also just look back and think about what are things that the Lord's taught you this year. I feel like that's a really good thing to do at the end of the year.
Yeah, and share it. I think like the biggest thing we can do is just, and to encourage other believers is to share what God's done in our lives. And so that's our challenge for you as we kind of wrap up this year. Thank you so much for hanging out with us every other week.
We love you guys. You guys are what make the podcast the podcast.
Honestly, we couldn't do it without our fans. So with that being said,
like and subscribe. Share this with a friend.
Yeah, maybe give us like 5 stars.
Absolutely.
Like, so when people search our like Well StudentCast, we're the first ones that pop up.
Absolutely. But this is, you guys, the last Well StudentCast of 2022. We will see you next year.
Yes, we will. We will see you
asking
next year.
questions for friends so you don't have to.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Well StudentCast. As always, don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends about us. For more information about the Well Student Ministries, visit thewellcommunities.org/students.